Earlier during the course of today's bulletin, we brought you a story about issue raised by the former Special Assistant in Communications to former Vice President Phrank Shaibu over a copy, raising concerns over a copy of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, which was widely circulated. And the issue is that a viral copy of the judgment had gained interest due to the appearance of Tinubu Presidential Legal Team in the header. Now, to make better sense of this, we're joined by Dr. Jide Johnson, political analyst, joining us live from Lagos, Nigeria. One welcome to you, Dr. Johnson, and thanks for joining us on NC Continental Prime.
It's a pleasure to be with you, and good day to our viewers all over the world. Thank you for having me.
Now, Dr. Johnson, Atiku's aide, Phrank Shaibu, is accusing President Tinubu's legal team of providing clerical services to the Presidential Election Petition Court. How would you react to these unfolding developments after the court's ruling?
Well, judgment has been passed by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, which is the Court of Appeal, which is the Court of First Instance, concerning litigation for the presidential election. And I think what attention should be is to leave all of the issues relating to this, whether a header or watermark or whatever explanation that people have provided for this document that has the header of one of the litigants. In actual sense, the respondent to the litigation being the header on the copies of the document that is being circulated as the judgment of the appeal court, which is the Presidential Election Tribunal. I think we should focus on the substance, and that's my take. And I think that the parties, the petitioners, have indicated their interest to go to the Supreme Court, and I advise them to toe that line and let's leave these other side issues and deal with the substance of the issue. There's nothing anybody can do to change the decision that has already been taken, either through this unforced error or clerical assistance or what have you, that might have been provided to the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal by one of the respondents to the petition brought about by the PDP, Labour Party, and the APM. I think the focus should just be on what should come out of the Supreme Court with respect to whether they are filing their appeal at the court of final decision, which is the Supreme Court. We should deal with the substance. We've had a lot of distraction with respect to this Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, and there are monumental decisions that are cardinal to the development of our democracy, raised by the decision arrived at by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, led by Justice Tisamani. And I think that whatever the outcome of the Supreme Court concerning some of these pronouncements that are made will become cardinal principle that will guide our elections moving forward, and it will be the canon with respect to the interpretation of some of the sections of the 1999 Constitution as amended and the Electoral Act of 2022.
Now, Dr. Johnson, you're one of millions of Nigerians. You said Nigerians should rather focus on the substance and forget this clerical errors. But as the petitioners, as the respondents have said, they're taking this all the way to the Supreme Court. But some people are of the opinion that this would be a distraction to the president, saddled with enormous responsibilities as we operate in a low-trust environment. What's your take on this? And how easy? We already saw the build-up to the Presidential Election Petition Court verdict, all with all eyes on the judiciary, and then we're seeing all of this. It will be very hard to convince Nigerians that this judiciary is truly independent.
Well, in the bid to ensure transparency, they allowed the live transmission of their judgment, and I think that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal needs to come up with an explanation. It is important. It's important for you to clarify. It's important for you to to correct the doubts and deal with whatever insinuations or rumors that have been peddled about. If you look at the credibility index of the judiciary, of INEC, and there's some other institutions that were assigned responsibility with respect to elections in Nigeria and monitoring the democracy. And I'm not sure any one of them will score above 40%. And it's important for this institution to build the trust and the confidence of the people in this institution. We said a democracy is actually government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And if people lack confidence and they lack trust in the activities of some of the institutions that have been placed with the responsibility to superintend over our democratic processes, I think that it's important for them to clarify. A statement was released by the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, particularly by the appeal court, that live transmission will be carried out concerning the judgment. And I think this particular issue, there should be a clarification. It will come in form of a press statement, it will come in form of a press release. Just clarify and explain to Nigerians. What people require in the midst of confusion is clarification. And once you clarify, you're able to clear all doubts and nip every rumor in the bud. Otherwise, the suspicion becomes bigger and bigger than whatever you can handle, and you give room to conspiracy theories to begin to suggest whatever theory they want to make out of. Probably this clerical error or what have you, or what any other person might have given with respect to the excuse for the Presidential Legal Team of Bola Tinubu appearing on the final judgment, on the copies of the final judgment by the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal.
Now, finally, Dr. Johnson, before I let you go, looking beyond the specific case, how can Nigeria's electoral system be strengthened to minimize the likelihood of contentious disputes and to enhance public confidence in the electoral process? Because if INEC did an amazing job and, if everybody was satisfied with the conduct of the general elections, we won't be here in the first instance, in the first place.
I think that is for whichever institution we are given responsibility to stick by the rule of the engagement. There is a constitutional provision with respect to what would be the role of INEC, and we also have an act of the parliament assented to by the president in 2023, which is the Electoral Act. And moving forward, I think that there is a need for us to review this and to begin to put some certain things as canon, because some of the interpretation, I'm not a lawyer, but some of the interpretation that the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal have given to some of the constitutional provisions and the Electoral Act, I'm looking to what the Supreme Court is going to say concerning those interpretations that they give to these constitutional provisions that is clearly spelled out with respect to what will be the role of INEC and what will be the processes that will guide the conduct of the election, transmission of result, and release of result. So I want to see what the Supreme Court would say concerning that. And if the Supreme Court should affirm the judgment of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, sustaining their judgment. And I think moving forward, we need to approach the 10th Assembly and begin to look at what are the loopholes that have been exploited in 2023, so that come 2027, we'll be able to deal with these loopholes by having an enabling law that empowers INEC and that requires INEC to carry out some certain basic things that ensures transparency, openness in our electoral processes. Once there is transparency and there is openness, I can assure you that we'll have less litigation when it comes to election. The challenge we have is that we have rules, but we don't stick by that rules. Everybody turns himself to be the Lord and Master, and they subject everything to their whims and caprices. As far as I'm concerned, the 2022 Electoral Act is very, very specific with respect to what INEC would do, with respect to how election will be conducted, with respect to how results will be transmitted, and with respect to how results will be announced. And if there is contention with respect to which result will be valid, it's the result on the IRF that will be valid. But in their own wisdom, the justices of the five-man panel of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal have come up with their own interpretation. So I'm looking at what the Supreme Court is going to say. Okay. And in the process, we'll be able to deepen our democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson. As always, it was a pleasure speaking with you, Dr. Jide Johnson,
Thank
Public
you,
Affairs Analyst.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
You're welcome.